mics muted unless you're talking, just so that we don't like get like mic feedback, all that stuff. All right. Hello everyone. Welcome to our panel. We're gonna be talking about VRChat communities, like kind of running them, what they are, who they are, for in regards to Furries, and like what we and all of us as community managers going over your questions, and basically talking about what it's like. I guess Hawaiian, if you could start by introducing yourself, who you are, what you do, and then we're gonna run down the list, all the way down to Pikapedi over there.
Oh, he's full.
Okay. Hello, I am Whitman, or Hawaiian Hyena, and I am the co-founder and community manager for the Land of Cackles Discord.
Oh, me now? I'm Dashi. I am the runner and owner of the Avali Army. It's pretty much me and short and simple.
I get it.
I just run the hill.
I am Rusty Dusty Fox. I've been a community project director for the Best Boy community and Best Boy Project Discord server for almost 4 years now. We are one of the oldest currently running VRChat communities that's still active and making things for the community. And we are creating free models and distributing them to people, as well as creating like a friendly space for everyone to come and enjoy.
Hi, I'm Nico Reda. I make avatar, I made that protogen, and I made a shack doll. You have the name on the bottom. And I'm running a little Discord community. And that's it.
Hello, I'm Hayu. I'm a VR artist, 3D modeler, etc. And I run the Longboys community for the Longboy avatars that I made, as well as the Escape Velocity Furry Space Fans community.
Hello, I'm Pikapedi. I run the Shiba community. It was originally starting out just a Discord for my animations, because I'm a professional animator, and then made the Shiba model, and then formed a whole community around it. But it's still my Discord's still labeled as my Patreon Discord. There's no Shiba Discord, so yeah.
All right, I guess we could start by going over some questions. We're going to start going right into them. Unfortunately, we probably will not have enough time to answer every single individual question, so we're going to be picking out some of the best ones we see there already, and there's already a lot that are coming in, so make sure to submit your questions onto the Furality Discord so that we can see them and go over them. I'll be starting off with a question. Let's go see. Let's say, what is a good way to help newcomers in the community be more comfortable or accepting? I guess we can start with Dashi. I'm not sure where Whitman went off to, but I guess we can start with Dashi.
I'm not too sure. Sorry, say that again. The question I was reading the whole list of them.
What is a good? Ooh, I am liking. What is a good way to help newcomers in the community to feel more comfortable or accepting?
Mainly giving them a one-to-one, you can normally give them a one-to-one, show them a tour around the place on the server, let them know what's what. If they need help, then more than welcome to ask for help if they need it. But most of the time it's, everyone's openly able to help the new person, make them feel at home, make it seem like a family.
Yeah, I totally agree. In my experience, the best way to kind of welcome a newcomer into your community or into your group is to just kind of show them around and basically like go and say like, hey, this is what we are, this is who we are. Like give them a tour around your world or something like that, and like tell them like the stories of your community. That's something that I've always loved to do with when I like show people around the Best Boy world. Is that I like go and like show people like, okay, this is what this is, and this is what that used to be, blah 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 blah. It's a good way to kind of like make people feel like they're a part of something and get them hyped up about it. And kind of like give them like a tour, I guess, is like a really good way to kind of like solidify people into it. And like Another thing is really important to foster that kind of welcoming atmosphere in your community. Basically, give people the option to like be around other people in it, and like have other people like welcome them into it. Like, hey, I'm new here, and like people are like, okay, hi, that sort of thing is usually like a really good, strong way to get someone into some of the communities.
Oh, he's back.
Hawaiian has returned. Welcome.
Hello.
But anyone, Nicoretta, I guess.
I'm sorry, I don't have an answer about that. You already say everything.
Okay, yeah. Anyone else want to add anything?
Well, there's no really. At this point, my community is like really self-sustaining, but I mean, we just throw a party, and that's really fun.
Yeah, I'm still kind of working on how active my communities are. But when new people come in, members, it's kind of a tradition for members to welcome them in, especially in the escape velocity community. There's always people saying welcome. But I guess I could talk a little bit about ethos here. Something that's really important, especially in reducing the amount of moderation you actually have to do in a community, is just when people join their community, there's a period of time that's really crucial where they're kind of gauging what the community is like, and in that sense, they'll also reciprocate that. They will act the way that they see others acting in the community, and there's a period of time where they're just kind of figuring what that is before they speak. And so, making sure that the sort of ethos, the feeling of the community is there, and then they take that on and perpetuate it is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really well said. I agree with that. I guess we can move on to the next question. As well as anyone in the live audience here, if you have questions, just raise your hand so that way I can know that someone here has a question, and then I can move on to just continuing the ones from the Discord.
What if you don't have hands?
Like jump up and down, try to make yourself notice.
No, a good method would be hand raise.
Oh, that too. That's actually that's better. Huh. But okay, so does anyone in the live audience have a question?
Me.
All right. Shrikey, Veron. I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce your name. What's your question?
Yeah, it's Shrike. Yeah, it's Shrike.
Sorry.
I'll run. Basically, the question I put in there in the Discord was, how do you handle the transition from like a smaller community to a larger one as it gets bigger and more popular?
That's actually a really, really good question. I guess I could answer unless anyone else has something they want to talk about first.
I have a good story on that one. So the way I ran the community at first was the wrong thing to do, which was I handled everything myself. And as the community grew and grew and more members came in, all that pressure of me making all the Shibas and uploading them for people and catering to everybody, it got too much, and you mentally break. You need a really good mod staff that are really level-headed in order to handle stuff, because you'll eventually handle some things that you don't want to handle, but they have to be dealt with anyways, dealing with problematic people. So choosing the right mod staff as your community gets beyond your control, as far as like you being able to handle it yourself, is very important.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess like my kind of thing to do is look at a fish tank. A fish will only grow as big as the fish tank it is in. That's something that you hear a lot. So like if you set your community to be this big one, build a big structure around your community. Basically have staff members already there set up. Have like delegate tasks to people when they need to be done, and kind of set up that structure of a bigger community, no matter how small you're starting off at. So that way, when later on, if you do continue to grow, you won't have to restructure everything and continue to have to deal with that stress. So if you set yourself up with a good structure to begin with, that can lead to helping the growth of your community further.
Mine was pretty similar. With the servers keep growing, it's good to have more moderation team, like more help to help you out with it.
Yeah.
It also gets onto the subject of choosing who your mods are as well.
Yes.
We talk about this every time, but really the trick to choosing your mods is to find the people who are already acting as mods without the actual mod status.
Exactly. Yeah.
There are already people who are kind of these natural sort of moderator figures who are trying to look out for the server and trying to keep people peaceful and happy, and those are the people you want to make mods, not people who ask for it, obviously. I hope everyone knows that, but yet I still hear horror stories, so...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the
I guess that kind of...
prerequisites. If it's like anybody asks to be a mod in my community, I'm just like, you just disqualified yourself. Sorry.
That's one of the rules on our servers, basically don't ask for mod. Like, if you act like a moderator, that means you're basically not doing it just for the status of being a moderator. Like, that sort of thing already. And something I see sometimes is like, don't just choose a moderator because they're your friend. Your moderators can be your friends, but do not choose them because you are your friends. But just because someone's like fun to hang around with and you're really close to doesn't mean they're good in a moderation position.
And be sure to choose people that you're going to respect as well, because there's a lot of times my mods just outvoted me and said, and I have to respect their decision. And there's a couple of times, my mods pulled me aside and I'm like, PD, I know you're having fun, but like, chill, dude. I'm like, okay.
That's definitely true.
Questions?
Do you want to ask one on Discord or someone in the audience?
This one.
We just took an audience one, so I guess we can take a Discord one now as well.
Yep, sure.
Yeah, I was just answering a DM from someone, so let me just go back to the panel and let's see. Oh, that's a good one. What is everyone's advice for younger furries in the fandom? I guess we could start down with Hawaiian and move our way down.
Can you repeat the
Oh,
question, please?
okay.
Yeah, in a minute.
Repeating the question.
Oh, sorry, did you guys not hear? What is everyone's advice for younger furries in the fandom?
Okay. I'm not quite sure exactly what the age range is that people are talking about, but a lot of people, they'll start out and they'll see either through the media, they'll become fans of a lot of different animated films, and that's how they'll become to like a lot of these anthro characters. And a lot of times they'll emulate it, or they'll take the time to go and do lots of line art. And that's why there's a lot of astounding, really young artists that are within a certain age range. And it is kind of daunting to begin to try to become involved with the communities and the fandom as a whole. In the context of in-game, we had a lot more open availability because there are a lot of clonable models now, and there's a lot of free models and a lot of very accessible Gumroad models. And so a lot of people, they'll also start out with small steps. They can start out being like texture editors, and they can do all kinds of art things. But like when it comes down to community, it's something to be mindful of when you actually run a big or a small one, how you lay it out. Especially if it's centered around this game, you don't want to make it so it's all pushing towards sensual or adult themes. You make it so it's actually like a base community where it can be safe for everyone, and where they won't just be bullied or they won't have their voice not heard if they have a question. Laying it out is a little tricky because I personally have not done as much layout in Discords, but since I manually accept almost every single individual that had joined my server, I kind of, at a certain point, I didn't ask them, but at a certain point they talked to me about how old they were, their age, what they do, and I accommodated for that. But my community started out really small, so I could afford to do that. When it comes to larger communities, I don't really have as much of a say.
Ours is just straight down family friendly. We anything that makes anyone uncomfortable like that, we won't tolerate. So our best advice is, keep it family friendly. Full stop. I don't want them to go down that rabbit hole of nonsense.
The way I see it when it comes to younger members is set a good example for them. Basically, allow them to be around in the community. Set if they act mature and respectful, then that's fine. But once you start getting young, very very young people, and they act in that kind of immature kind of way, do you know how regular young people are with that? If they're respectful and good people in the community, of course public-facing communities like ours should be kept safe for work, that sort of thing. Already, that's kind of a given thing, I think. But when it comes to having very younger people in your community, basically allow them, but keep an eye on them. Basically, if you start seeing things that don't look right or are a bit too immature and not going with the community's flow, maybe step in, talk to them, or when it needs to be, they can come back when they're older.
I could. Oh,
you go.
Yeah, I could split this into two different questions. Basically, one is does one deal with younger members in their community, and the other one is what is advice to a younger member of the furry community. Now, for the first one, rules are rules. Doesn't matter how old someone is. If they're broken, they're broken. Doesn't matter where they are when they break the rules. If they're on another server or if they're IRL recording a YouTube video of themselves or whatever, if they break the rules there, break the rules of your server and they're out. That's how I go with that. That resolves a lot of stuff very easily. In terms of drama, especially with young people, there's a lot of sort of maybe even relationship drama, things like that is really not bad drama, but to them it's a huge deal. And so if you're a younger person, you're going through some breakup or things like that, and it'll be really, really tough at the time, but you'll look back on it and you'll be like, wow, that was nothing. The other side of things is, advice for young people in the furry fandom. I have some general advice for young people. The first thing is, adults, we have no idea what's going on. Anything more than you, really. People look like they have their stuff together. They look like they're really confident in life and they know how the world works and what's going on. They don't. If they do, they're pretending, or you've caught them in a moment in their life where they think they do. But it's all an act, and so you just get better and better at pretending you're confident, and that works as actual confidence eventually. So that's kind of my advice. But yeah, if you're a community manager and you have young people in your Discord, just be aware that other adults in your Discord may be doing things in DMs that you don't know about, and always keep a kind of culture of openness, so that if people catch stuff, if people hear about things, or if people get approached in ways they don't like, that they feel they can come to you and tell you, so you can kick people out who are doing stuff they shouldn't be away from your eyes.
That's a really good point, Hayu, about having people who are taking advantage of the younger members in your community. Keep a vigilant eye on those younger members, when you see them and when you know who they are. Unfortunately, when those things do happen, you need to make sure that you can make sure that is not allowed in your culture of your community. So if you see that kind of thing, instant removal, instant gone. But make sure that the younger people.
Yeah, you're also kind of a teacher in a sense, teaching about life stuff often, and obviously delegate a lot of the stuff to your mods if you have them. But if you teach your members about general things like this and what to look out for, then that can prevent a lot of stuff cropping up in the future.
Absolutely.
Just more advice to younger people, especially if they're creatives. Just realize a lifetime is quite a long time, and I know I had a lot of these feelings when I was starting more with art and and looking up at these people that are, god tiers to me. And it's but not realizing that they're much older, had much more experience, than just keep practicing. If you're a young furry trying to get into the fandom, realize that you don't have to have a suit to be cool, and you just keep practicing your art, and it just gets a lot better once you get out there, and it's a lot more fun. Slap down some drawings and stuff. It's more of my advice to a young artist furry.
Yeah, and if you think your art looks bad, it might not actually be bad. It might just not be finished yet.
Oh, that, or, but you know how it should have been. Like the idea that you had in your head, like, oh, this art's gonna be so cool. That's not actually fully formed. You just have like this emotion of how you want it to feel, and then when you look at your final thing, you just see how it doesn't live up to that feeling. Meanwhile, everybody else sees your art for what it is. So, and plus, also, if you spend like hours and hours on a piece of art, by the time you're done with it, your brain is bored with it, and it's just, please give me some other stimuli. And so you're like, this is garbage, when actually it's really good.
Oh, totally. I made the Furality dealer dens, and when I'm walking around them, all I see is like the weird like issues with transparency and like bad shadows, and I'm like, oh god.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you are your harshest critic. That's another good thing to talk about. Is like, when it comes to like criticizing yourself, like you are the one who criticizes yourself the most. Most people won't notice the little issues. A lot of the time, like on our Dutch Angel Dragon Best Boy model, we had an issue where none of the animations would work for months, and no one ever told us. So we had no idea until we were ready to make the Dutch Angel Dragon world. But I guess we can take another question from the crowd if anyone has any. What's up, JJ?
Hey, Ver. So my question kind of goes back to the moderation talk that was going on earlier. My question is, how does your community handle bad actors? And it can be in terms of like identifying them and taking action on them.
Ooh,
yeah.
Oh, I got a really good one for that. So what we do in the Shiba Discord, the part of the moderation tools, we open up a case file. Then any incident that person is doing gets put in that case file until if it grows too big, then we really, if you have to call someone from your group, the biggest thing you can do is not make a big deal about it publicly. Pull them aside, and basically you have the call or whatever when we're, calling someone from the group. It's on record, it's recorded, so their response and our response are recorded and then added to the file, and then they're just silently taken out. So the community doesn't really even realize what's going on. So that's the biggest thing, because if you make a public stint about it, it just sends bad mojo through like your entire community.
I guess we can move this way now. If you guys want to go first, then we can still be usually going this way. I guess you go.
For our smaller communities, we talk to all the people involved. We cross-reference. We find out which story doesn't add up. Often the majority of things are misunderstandings. Like, someone's having a bad day and they say something that came out a little bit wrong, and then other people say that they're a bad person, and then that spirals back around and everyone's calling them a bad person, and then they react to that and it makes them look worse, but really they're just having a bad day. There's a lot of things like that also occur, and really just kind of like chilling, not being a part of the drama and seeing it from the outside and kind of being like, okay, this is a puzzle, I'm going to fix this. What are all the different aspects of it? What happened when? Build up like a timeline in your head of when these things happened. And the more you do this, the more you can sort of just start to see the patterns. Like if you know an AI, that you just chuck training data at it until it can just start seeing patterns where there aren't any, and it can figure out stuff that no one else could. You eventually start to see it like that, where like you've dealt with enough of these situations where you're like, oh, I know what this is like that one other time, and you just immediately know like this one person must have done this, and then you look in and you find out, that actually was the case. So it's just a case of treating it like a puzzle and getting as much information as you can to be able to solve it.
Nice, like do something.
I usually prefer to ban the person that could do something until the case is resolved. So I have some experience in the past with someone faking whole case, and because of that we had to. It was very complicated, honestly. We basically ban him until it's resolved, and and we see if we leave it like that or not.
Yeah. I guess like my kind of thing when it comes to dealing with bad actors is community leaders. Like we all talk to each other. So if one of us gets like a bad actor causing trouble in someone's community, we'll all eventually know about it. So like basically we'll be able to like cross-reference each other's experiences with individuals who are known to cause trouble. And basically kind of like, okay, this person's doing this, and this in our community. You should probably remove them and that sort of thing and kind of deal with them that way. So when it comes to individuals in your community who are causing trouble, best way is to give them like a strike or two, give them a couple warnings. Then eventually, if it becomes too much of an issue, that's a kick or for a certain amount of time, or a ban or a mute, depending on what your moderation team decides. Like, don't let it just be one person on your staff team who goes on a power trip and bans 30 people. Like, that kind of thing is not healthy for a community.
That is not.
But when it comes to someone who's genuinely causing an issue, there should be a staff agreement on it before any action is taken.
I got nothing. Mine's pretty much the same as yours.
So, since my group was one of the initial starting groups, we kind of had to go in without much knowledge on different people that would join us, and if they had like bad history, if they are if they like prey on different things, and so it's taken us a while. But at least now we have a set thing where if we communicate with the other groups, there are set individuals that unfortunately it's best that they're not part of any of our communities because of the danger of manipulation and different specific things that they have done. I believe in giving people a second chance, but as it stands, it's best that they're not within a larger community.
And to add, there are sort of very difficult gray area situations too, where they're not necessarily a bad actor. Like they're not trying to cause trouble, but rather that they just don't get how being in a group works. They don't get how, socializing works. And it's difficult because a lot of us here started off not knowing anything about how socializing works. And yet, and so, we see ourselves in those kind of people. And it's very difficult because they could be on voice chat, regularly interrupting people, not listening to anyone, causing things to be super awkward, and eventually that becomes an anxiety builds in your group among all the people who are in voice chat about when's this person going to suddenly speak and interrupt me. And so you'd have to have strict rules in place for things like if you degrade the quality of communication, not just if you do something bad. If you actually just hinder the social aspect of the group in any way, you're not necessarily a bad person, but you're bad at doing this. And limiting voice permissions, things like that, can be a tool to use in situations like that. But there's the more difficult situations when it's clearly someone who's trying and they just can't quite get there.
Something I've seen too, going kind of off that point, is like people who just have a lot of trouble with social issues, or who are like younger, or have a lot of mental issues going on, unfortunately, which makes communication with them and their communication in your server difficult to manage. And those kind of situations are, of course, a gray area, which is why you should have like a staff agreement on any action that should be taken. Like, communicate with your staff team, kind of work together on what you're basically trying to do to foster a good community.
I have to add to the awkward person. Okay, so like if you have someone who's like in the community is on, let's say they're on the spectrum, they just don't get social cues. And a lot of times you have to find yourself explaining some things. You have to do it in a nice way, but just like, hey, when the current conversation is going on, and then you bring up like completely unrelated topics, and don't even listen to other people's answers, that's kind of derails the whole mood that was going on at that point. And it's like, it feels silly to explain some of this stuff to someone who doesn't get social cues, but it really helps them. And they're just like, oh, that's probably what I was doing. I never picked up on it. And sometimes you just have to deal with that. So it's really, just, I don't want to feel like I say it, but it's easier to deal with someone who just blatantly breaks the rules than it is dealing with someone who's just awkward. And it's just it's a really delicate process. If you have someone who has a lot of experience in that, as part of your mod stuff, like they ran a convention or something, or even one of my mod staff is a former police officer. He's really good at the getting the different viewpoints and of a situation. So,
yeah, a bunch of us here on the panel, including myself, are on the spectrum, and really, the advice that I have, if you are, and you feel like you're the awkward one in the group all the time, and people give you awkward silences while in voice chat, is really just to that being on the spectrum means that you don't listen as much because your brain isn't telling you that you need to, and it's just kind of like you want to say, you have so much to say, but you don't really listen. But listening is how you get that training data I mentioned. That's how you learn. And so really just trying to gather as much information from people, listen to what they have to say about themselves and what they do. That can really help in that situation if you're on that side of the voice chat.
Yeah. I guess we can move on to another question unless anyone else has anything else to add.
Dark Goddess has been raising her hand for...
Oh, what's up, Dark?
Do you want to take...
It's their turn.
Yeah, do you want to take her?
Sorry. Yeah.
I was wondering, after you've seen all the stuff your communities have created, have there been things that have made you regret releasing your avatars?
Oh, man.
Never regret, but certainly consider. I guess Hawaiian concerned we can move down the list of panelists.
So originally what we set out to do was, at a certain point, we made a lot of our models open and free. So if people wanted the Blender files, if they wanted like the Unity packages, we would have them and people would do whatever with them. There are a lot of people that are really talented with Blender, and they were able to remorph a lot of our models into more shapely variants, and different people would like it, other people would not. And at a certain point, since it wasn't actually an official community model, we didn't get any blame for it, and we didn't get any like targeting for it. So all the stuff that we've released and stuff we also have on Gumroad, all of it is good. It helped people learn, it helped people progress. And so there are no regrets in releasing any of our models.
We had similar. Some people are just very good at Blender and make the most strangest like versions of these, and I see them, I'm like, thanks, now I hate it.
That's usually a good reaction. I've seen people make some very, very interesting Best Boy models even from back in the day. There's always some interesting ones around. There's one that's just a triangle with a Best Boy tail slapped on it. It's beautiful. But never regret, but I've certainly been like, why would you do this? That sort of thing, I guess.
I saw a lot of avatar with my tattoo. I have a cyborg avatar, and people made it even more cyborg, more 3D details on it, but I never saw any bad thing on it. It was always cool.
No regrets here, but the very first purchase of the Longboy ever was from one of my friends, and the first thing he did was scale up the avatar to be about 100 meters tall, but only in the tall axis, so it was really thin, and just slapped that directly into the game. That was the very first custom Longboy. It was just the longest
mega long boy.
No one's beat it since. But no, I've seen ones where obviously you have the dynamic bone ones where, like, the nose and the ears and the eyes and everything, including the fingers, is jiggly all over the place, and you get some very interesting screenshots from those. But with, I think one of the best I've seen, my friend Atlas made one where he replaced the arms and legs and even the tail with egg. Like, if you're watching this stream on a web browser, please Google long egg. I implore you, you will never get that image out of your head ever again. But he turned the arms and legs into that, and that's
I'm still trying to forget
I've ever
it.
seen.
It's beautiful.
It's cultural.
I just love creative communities, and just to see what was originally I was afraid of what people were going to do, and I thought I was going to have my name associated with it. So originally when I started the Shibas, I had that all locked down until the stress got to me, and I was just like, okay, screw it, let's just release it. And that was like the best decision I've ever made, because I've just seen amazing things come out from the Shibas, and the most cursed things come out from you over there. That is equally wonderful. But even like I've seen some models where someone has ripped my avatar and then used it in an animation as like a kind of like a way to like basically it's just like a Nikkei model is just like beating up my my avatar, and I'm watching this, I'm like, well, that's actually decently animated. It's really well done. I mean, the subject matter's questionable, but God, man, that's kudos to this guy.
I've seen stuff like that where it's an avatar that will go around with like a bunch of furry models like hanging from their coat, and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
that's been going. That one's been going around for ages, though. Yeah, those have been around forever, though.
The guy who made the longest boy,
so
Spaghetti,
well
I later found him with a kangaroo avatar, and he had my long boy as like a scarf around his neck with its tongue out, just like dangling.
Oh no!
Nice.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see.
All left.
As a community leader, what is the most difficult challenge you have faced, and how did you handle it? I guess we can go down the line again.
Oh, do I start? Okay.
Yeah.
I think the main challenge that I personally encountered was just kind of as I accepted more and more people and the community got larger, it came down to figuring if I needed to rotate moderation. Since my group was kind of early, I wasn't really as open to going asking around other groups or other individuals on advice. And I'm very grateful for many of the other people on this panel because they give very great advice and we've been able to reform a lot of things. But when I was starting out, it was just like me and a few other people, and we kind of do not know what we're doing sometimes. And so when we started to get this larger group, that's when different smaller dramas would happen and different people would come in with alts. So I think it was more, my biggest issues would mostly be with different members and different individuals than different aspects per se. I think the other thing was I still am not very good at hosting any community get-togethers. And so we already had different people in the community that were already doing those, and much like the don't set people as moderator because they're your friends, set them as because they're already doing moderation stuff. It was the same thing with like someone that's doing like community events. If they're already hosting their own community events, then I went forward and I asked them if they would be our official community event person. So I think the main thing was the transition of getting a larger group and actually giving out different roles and different tasks was the hardest that I've encountered.
I wouldn't say I've really had much of anything tough within the community since I've had such a great amount of admins and team for me. So it's been pretty smooth sailing through it all.
For me, I'd say like the biggest challenge I faced, I guess that like is kind of big. I mean, we've had a lot of challenges with Best Boy over the years. There's been a lot that's gone on with that community, but we've still persevered. I guess like the big one is back in 2018, our community was originally run by someone else, and our community Discord got deleted, and he said he was done running things. That community basically scattered, and no one knew where to go until I kind of got a bunch of people together, and we started to rebuild the community up again to where it became to where it is now. That's always been a big struggle of kind of making the community, keeping a community going after basically it gets shattered, as though it's kind of a big challenge. I guess like another kind of big thing that happened was back in like late 2018. I had my files deleted for all our world projects that we were working on for Best Boy. our original Best Boy Islands map completely gone. So that was another kind of thing where you have to build up from scratch again. And when those kind of things happen to you, you've got to make sure that, okay, we got to keep the group together, keep morale high, and keep people excited for the future. Like, don't let people sit you're down in the dumps about something happening in your community. That's kind of my advice with that kind of thing.
I have nothing more to say.
Okay.
I think for me, the biggest challenge is not knowing how fast to grow my community. I operate a lot more in the kind of keeping things chill side when it comes to community growth. And, I know how to grow a community, but I'm afraid to do so. If you grow too fast, then you end up, with a lot more than you bargained for, and you won't have the structures in place to do so. And I think, Rusty, your comment on, the fish and growing to fill the tank, I think is very helpful here, because I'm just kind of afraid to actually go ahead and do the growth, about the changes that'll come and things like that. So that's the kind of challenge I'm currently facing. It's just not really knowing what speed is a good speed for that, at least for me.
Yeah.
So, one of the things I want to highlight here is that as a community leader, and especially like a founder of a community, you set the tone for a lot of how your community is going to react to things. And a lot of your community is going to look toward you to react to things. So when it came to our biggest challenge that our community faced, which was the unfortunate timing and death of one of our predominant members, Glade, everyone deals with grief differently. So, they all looked towards me. And then I knew I had to be that strong figure for everyone, even though one of my best friends had just suddenly died. So that was that was probably the biggest challenge that I faced. And I'm getting a little choked up right now. Yeah, so that's, you just have to keep, a level head and realize that you have to be that pillar of strength if that unfortunate thing happens. I don't wish it upon anybody. It's terrible to go through. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you for talking about that.
Yeah.
I guess we can go a question from the crowd. Anyone here in the world have a question? What's up? What's up, Blood Tea?
How do you recommend steering your community into the right direction and like the direction you want it to go, as in it being mature or like whatever you want?
I guess kind of, if I know what you mean, show an example. Like kind of show an example for how you act, like how your actions as a community leader affect how your community will grow and what direction it will take. So if you're acting like immature person running around all the time, like crashing people or being a dick to everyone, that kind of just leads to everyone being around you being a crashing dickhead. So having that, showing a face to your community that will help with the community grow in the right direction is really important. I feel it helps steer the community in the right direction.
Yeah, and structured like positive reinforcements. Let's say you want to have a community that you like I want my Shibas to constantly build stuff and learn Blender and learn Unity and all that stuff. So if they say, hey Pete, I made a world, I'm like, hey everyone go check out this person's world, let's party in here, and then you'll have more people that want to make stuff, and always have that, that's how you push the community into a direction that you want to go. But yeah, then also, like I said before, your actions, your ideas and morals, basically the community will look up and kind of adopt that if they want to continue being part of the community. So you have to be very careful of how you kind of structure things if you're like the creator or the leader of the community.
Yeah, as P mentioned earlier, often you'll find that the idea that you have for how to resolve a situation, there's a better idea than what you have, and your mods will say something, and maybe you'll be like, no, mine's better, and they'll overrule you. And And sometimes you'll do things that are wrong, but publicly admitting in front of your community that you were wrong about something is, I think, a very powerful thing to do, because other people will then want to admit when they're wrong. They follow the leader with that kind of stuff. In terms of general everyday steering of the community, really it's about all the little stuff. You got to sweat the small stuff, where if you see something, a little bit of something in your chat that you don't quite like, you mention it. And you see that other people also don't like it. And so the next time it happens and you're not there, the other people will know that it's not okay, and then they'll be the ones coming in and saying, hey, that's not okay. And likewise, if you see something you really do like, take the time to actually go in, message, drop a reply saying, hey, this is awesome. And with all of these lots and lots and lots of messages, they all add up in terms of steering the ethos of the community. If only 5 people in your community see that message, those 5 people will still have an effect on then the next 5 people who are then talking to them later. So generally you're building up this feeling.
Yeah, if it's really good and you're really impressed and you're like, I want my community more to do this, you can use your announcements channel in the Discord. That's sometimes I use stuff for that. A lot of times, when the mods are going to post something in the announcements, we kind of discuss it and make sure it's all worded structurally okay. But other times I just see stuff, I'm like, that's cool. Boop, up there. Hey, everyone, check this out. This is cool. So, yeah, there's no voting for that.
That's a great idea. I'll steal that.
Yeah.
Good.
All right, let's see. Let's get from the Discord. Oh, this is.
But yeah.
Do you guys like furry cons, virtual fur cons, or cons more? I guess we can go down the list for this one and a little bit quick one.
Virtual or real more?
Okay. Pretty much I was set, and all my travel and everything was set to go to VLFC last year, and that didn't work. So that was gonna be my first con. And so my first virtual con was the first time we did the Rogue Furality in in May of 2020, and it was a lot of fun. I really liked, even if it was VRChat and we had a lot of janky things because we kind of did it without telling anyone. It worked out. It was a lot of fun. So I can't really have a say because I've only been to one type. I haven't been to both.
Yeah.
See, I've been to both. I was in the same sort of predicament. I had myself ready for my con before this pandemic hit the first time. Me, I won't say no to any con, really. As soon as I heard this, I was like, yes. It's the closest thing to one, and I enjoy either.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I've only ever been to virtual conventions. So that's kind of where I'm at.
I've never been in a real convention yet, but I think virtual convention help being less shy.
Yeah.
And that's it for me.
For me, it's kind of like asking, do you prefer iced tea or iced coffee, isn't it? Like, I mean, if you're going to put either of them in front of me, I'm going to chug it.
Yeah.
But if you're going to tell me all the iced coffee in the world suddenly isn't there anymore, well, I'm going to have the iced tea, aren't I? And if you give me both, I'll gladly have them both. I guess, which con do I prefer working for? I mean, really, having been on both now, I just enjoy working for both. They're quite different animals, but if with the kind of more 3D animation stuff coming out in for real life cons for like videos and things like that, I'm able to kind of put those 3D skills to use for both of them.
I've been to so many conventions. I have like a wall of badges. Honestly, depends on the con. Real life cons are actually really fun to meet up with people. They're really expensive though, and I definitely like how VR cons are not as expensive because I could just take off my headset and I'm in my living room. I don't have to rent out a hotel and everything and save up for some. But yeah, just I like. I definitely like both cons. I agree with the iced tea and iced coffee, kind of.
Yeah.
comment. Yeah, but yeah. I don't get as hot and sweaty at a VR con than I do at an actual con, so that's a bonus.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right, do we have a question from the crowd, or should we take another from the Discord?
I was one in the back.
Yeah. Sparky. What's
Sparky,
your
we
question?
can't hear you.
Yeah, can you come up here?
Think you muted as well?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry about that. Right, so yeah, question is basically for advice for new furries to VRChat in general to make the experience more enjoyable, and like when out in public, etc., dealing with just negativity towards furries as a whole. So experiencing that quite a lot recently.
Yeah, I guess like use your moderation tools, block, report, all that stuff. Is usually a good way to deal with that.
It's kind of unavoidable when you go into a public instance as well. You're bound to bump into a lot of people with that.
So
But
I'm the proponent.
there are some worlds.
So anyone new to VRChat, I'm always going to point to the creative community scene. Just get involved with that. Like make stuff, make more worlds, make more all this stuff. Get involved with the people that create things because they're way more cooler than a whole bunch of screaming children and brush avatars in public worlds. Yeah. Yeah. But Furality is actually a really, really cool place for new furries that are new to VRChat to actually start getting involved. Because like Furality is what I really think the most common experience should be. And I like how closed off it is. You have to go to the website, and all the worlds are invite only, and you have to get invited by the bots. So it makes troublemakers getting in like non-existent, almost next to non-existent.
I mean, it has happened a couple times this year, unfortunately, but like I said, it's a lot safer here to meet new people. It's a lot easier to like. I've already met so many awesome people from going to the panels and meetups and all that stuff. It's been a blast.
A mistake I see commonly, especially when people are playing the game in the very beginning in desktop mode, is treating it like a game. Because VRChat, it's not a game. If you come in thinking it's a game, well, it's a really lame game. It's a lot more like being at a friend's house or walking down the street. Real life situations brought into a virtual space, and once you start seeing it like that. It changes everything. I mean, especially in VR, you can't get over just the fact that you're sitting somewhere talking to someone in the same space. There's something special about that, which makes it more than just a piece of software.
I can touch you. Go on.
Okay. Yeah, finding friend circles, friending people, and don't worry too much about it. It's like practice mode for real life, so really don't worry too much about it. And just chill and have fun.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Well, this is an interesting one. Has there ever been a point where you felt your community has gotten too big? So I guess Whitman could start us off with that one.
Okay, so my group, because I still am the one person that accepts people into our group, we are stunted. And it wasn't exactly my intention to build a large group. It was more to be somewhat of a stepping stone, per se. We still followed the early terms, which said no external links at all in your maps. And so I personally would walk around with all the links and things, so that's how I could also manually invite people and accept them. My group still is maybe 1,000 at most, maybe slightly above that, and I'd say that's manageable for me and for others. It's not that we're a closed group, it's just a lot of our assets are older, and the community is still around. We still have our like small fun, but we're not as intentional per se. So my group really hasn't gotten very big, so I don't really have much input on that.
For how public mine is, pretty much And since most of the assets of ours are all publicly free and usable, I look away for only about an hour or so, and it keeps climbing. So it's kind of getting bigger than I ever thought it would be.
Yeah, I'm kind of in a similar boat with Best Boy, where it's like bigger than I ever thought it would ever get. I mean, starting off with like 20 people in a server to where like we're almost over. I think we're over 2,000 members right now, and it's just insane to see. Like, I mean, after Pokari did a video on our community, that's kind of when I was like, oh my god, we are growing so fast. Is this going to be sustainable? And that kind of thing is like when you get like a big boost of members in over a couple of days, you're gonna get a lot of people who aren't like in their community sphere or aren't gonna stay for long. So you get that big hike, then you see a slower dip or going back to the normal growth level of your community. So when you get like those kind of big spikes of membership growth or membership leaving, you know, there's always that return to the median norm as long as you continue having a stable community. But I guess like my kind of thing when it comes to getting bigger and bigger is, I mean, we're still growing. I mean, I'm pretty sure like your communities are still going to grow. But when it comes to like managing that growth, like I said, we need to just follow having enough moderators and having a staff team that can handle it.
Me?
Yeah.
It's been it was like it's growing. It did grow at some point, like very quickly. It was hard to handle at first because I had my role manually to people who is member, and besides that, it's still okay because people are usually chill. There is no problem here. So yeah.
I think there's no such thing as too big. There is only being underprepared. You know, your group can just keep growing, and if you keep growing the structure that supports the new kind of category of size that you grow into, then you're able to grow into it. But if you try to keep the structure of a small group going through into a big one, then you're going to start to run into some real problems real quick and get really stressed without even realizing, because you're doing a lot more than you should be as a leader. I like to think of a general example, like not furry, but like a big example here when it comes to how you think about growth as well. Let's take Fortnite and Minecraft, their communities.
Fortnite.
What happened there? Because, yeah, with Minecraft, you know, you had this huge hype, and then it all dropped off, and Fortnite got this huge hype. But then it kind of changed and switched back around. And why was this? Well, every community has two different categories of members in terms of growth. You have like your core people in the community, the people who are there for the thing. But then you also have the hype on top of that. And the hype can be multiple times the size of that, where the hype is all the people who join because you're the latest thing. And you're, you know, the latest and greatest thing that's just come out. And so, you know, if a new big game comes out and everyone loves it, then the hype all goes there. And you feel like this previous game that was at the top of the charts has just died. But really, you know, when the hype dies down, it'll travel whatever else is the most recent thing. But the core communities will always still be there. So if you have a big hype arrive and then it will just suddenly tails off, it's not that you're failing. It's just that's what the hype does. It comes and goes. But your core community is always going to be there, and that's what you've got to look out for.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was talking about when it comes to like getting a big growth or big downturn of membership. You're always going to eventually return to the mean level of growth, like on a chart or like a line chart. I mean, Discord gives you now tools that let you like see your growth over X amount of time now, which is really useful for that.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like that kind of thing is super useful for like managing. Okay, who's coming in from where? How is growth doing? All that kind of thing. But like, if you get that big booster driven menus, don't panic. You're going to see yourself return to that median as long as you keep on the steady course.
There's even a pop-up you can give new members now with all the roles and stuff that they have to click OK to.
Yeah, Discord's improved a lot over the last couple years when it comes to that sort of thing.
Yeah, we don't have you don't have to do like it.
Yeah, they have like a native system for that now.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Growth.
Yeah. Oh, growth. What was the question again?
Charge of falling out. Have you ever felt your community grew too quickly? Or got too big?
Yeah, especially after the Shiba Kings. But yeah, I definitely agree with all those points. But having a ball of chaos does not work as a management structure for a group. So just definitely you have to treat it like it's ongoing. And the people that are there before, like if you set a new community and you have like very few select, type members, and then the hype monster comes and then all these people join. Be prepared for some people, the original members be like, it's not the same anymore. It feels different. And that can happen. Your community is going to change over time. What it changes to, you can have some influence on, but it's going to change, and there's no stopping that. So
that's something I've absolutely noticed.
Yeah. So OG members might not like the change. They might think it's it's not for them anymore, and that's fine because people change and they grow and they learn. And it's okay if like OG members just suddenly decide I don't really want this. I don't want to be a part of this anymore because it feels different. That's totally natural.
Yeah, I've seen that happen with Best Boy a bunch, where people who will. I mean, over the last 4 years, the community's evolved into so many different directions to where it is now that some people just, this isn't for me anymore. And, you may always feel sad that someone who's been around, stuck with you for the past couple of years in your community is like, okay, this isn't for me anymore. But those kind of things are natural and they happen. But you always make sure that the door is open to them. Like, let them know that, hey, you're always welcome to come back if you ever feel you want to. And some people don't, and that's perfectly okay.
I think that also goes back to the group ethos thing. Like, if a ton of people join your group all at once, then that critical period where they're learning the vibe of the group, that's kind of there's a lot of noise in the signal to noise ratio there, where all the people who just joined are contributing to the conversation, and that means that your group ethos is kind of hidden away underneath all of that, and people don't pick it up when they've just joined. So, like, having a lot of your community or your existing community interacting with those new members is really important, and sort of stirring that up. But I think the comments about change are quite interesting to me, because I think my wanting to conserve this group ethos has been kind of limiting me in that I don't want it to change, but maybe change is a good thing in my scenario.
Change is sometimes it's kind of just always going to happen no matter what you do. So I feel like you got to embrace the change while controlling your parts of it that you want to keep core. That's kind of like my experience with it, at least. And I guess we can take another question from the crowd if anyone has one here. I want to make sure we kind of get a good amount between the crowd and the server. What's up, Draken? Do you have a question?
Did you have your hand up first?
Yeah, they had their hand up first.
Kaidera, you could go first, and then I can get to Draken.
If you start up, I've had a Discord for a while now for mostly technical support. But I now want to more switch it towards a creative community and get some more people on board. But it seems to be kind of just quiet in there. What would you suggest just, doing to get it more lively in there and get a community going? So more than being too popular, the opposite question of like, how do you start and get the word out of like, hey, we want to get some creative people in here?
That's definitely not an easy question to answer, but I guess that's kind of what it sounded like I said at last Furality too, is don't set out to create a community, like a big massive community where you're at the top of the world. Set out to provide something, like give out people a goal, like say, hey, this is a thing I'm doing, show it to people, that sort of thing, like invite people in. And so that's how you start building that foundation of a community. Like set out to provide something, don't set out just to be a community for community's sake.
Yeah, once you start looking at numbers, like paying attention to your numbers. And this also comes from my experience with YouTube and stuff. Like once you start paying attention to like the numbers and the graphs and who's viewing what, and just you're missing the whole point of what you set out to do, right? for me, a lot of us, I think, we just kind of stumbled upon the community as we made something and then the community formed around it. It's much better approach that way than throwing out a fishing net for creatives so you can bring them into the community, because it seems like a job recruitment almost. I don't know. What do you think?
I think, because are you providing that technical support yourself? Because I think the thing is, you need to really encourage people to support each other. It is a community. It is more than just you. So, pulling on the resource of all the people that you have, make channels, set up your server in a way where people support each other, and then you can just kind of go hands off for a while, and that way, they will draw in more people themselves, and you can also encourage people to say, if their friends need help with the stuff, with creative things, then tell them, hey, this is the place to be. And if it is the place to be, then they actually will make that recommendation. So yeah, the interconnectedness of all the other people in your community, I think, is the important factor here.
Yeah, I guess unless someone else has had anything, I can pull from one from the Discord, and then we can get to Draken. Let me see. What advice would you give to someone who has recently become an owner of a community that is already established? I guess we can start down again.
Well, you're the best one to answer this one, Rusty.
Oh, that is true, I guess. I guess when it comes to not inheriting, but becoming in control of a community. In my experience, the community had already been kind of just crumbled around, and I had to do a lot of rebuilding. But after that rebuilding was stabilized, establish yourself as that leader figure in the community, because people who are not as new to you as the leader of the community and don't really know you as well may have issues trusting you with that position. So be there for the community. Show up to events, kind of put yourself out there to your community. It's hey, here I am. I'm in charge of this thing now, and I'm here to help you. What can I do for you? Listen to your community members and kind of just get that kind of advice from them, because they've been around in the community. They are there, and kind of get that kind of structure to provide for them. And as well as adding your own flair to it, because no community leader are the same. I mean, we're all very different people here, I'm sure. We all have our own differences, and by putting your own flair, as well as keeping that core of the community intact, is I think the main thing to balance.
Yeah, don't try to change everything all at once. Keep things familiar, keep listening to what people say. But if there were things that led to it not working out in the past, change those things. But try to keep the structure
absolutely
as it was. And if it needs to change, make that gradual. Otherwise, it's going to alienate people.
Oh, yeah. And a big thing, find balance. Have moments, because yes, you might run this massive community and there's a whole bunch of people that depend on you, but you also do have your own life, and you need to find balance so you can come back to the community and deal with situations with a level head, instead of just indulging all the time, because that will break you.
Yeah, you are your own person, and if you treat yourself like garbage, then you're breaking your own community's rules.
Yeah. So the other thing, going in from seeing how a community before you, what led to you being in that position as community leader now, there could be a whole lot of factors to that. But in my experience, seeing how the first community of the Best Boys went down, what happened there, what can we learn from what went wrong here? And even looking at other communities, seeing what they did and seeing what they did wrong, to learn from that and take that into you and incorporate that into your work.
Also, mentally prepare yourself if you get a suddenly huge community, because your highs and your lows are going to be a massive roller coaster. So you'll see you're the reason why a lot of people, maybe a lot of members got together and paid for someone's bills, and you're really proud of your community. You're like, oh my God, I single-handedly affected these people's lives, changed their lives. And then you have to have the absolute lows of stuff you don't want to deal with, and I don't want to bring up here in this call. You have the
absolutely
emotional spectrum gets gets it's just a massive roller coaster sometimes, and you have to be prepared for that.
Yeah. Like something that always kind of touched me is like a small thing, but like that always kept me going when the community when I was in my downer points is looking at like we were doing a movie night with the Best Boys, and someone that came up to me who was really kind of quiet on the Discord server, only talking a little bit, and they were like, "This is the first time I've been to movies with my friends. Thank you." And that kind of just really stuck out to me because it's like being that kind of thing where people, because I'm kind of getting a little personal, but I've kind of had a lot of social issues with talking to people for most of my life. And I've always kind of had trouble fitting in, and being able to provide a space for people to come and basically see each other and find other people to be around, I think is really something special that us as community leaders can do.
Yeah, with my my space community, Escape Velocity, I actually kind of inherited it from someone else, although not truly. The other community is still going, but there was some bad blood for a little while. It's all resolved now, but there was some issue between me, I was already a moderator, and the owner, and I found myself banned. And all the other admins were demoted, so I couldn't be added back. And that kind of situation made me realize, wow, like everything about that community was great, except this one kind of thing that the admin does every now and then.
Yeah.
And so I took a little bit of time to think about it. I don't want to be the guy to just immediately start another community and say, hey, this is the place to go, everyone leave the other one. But I ended up starting a new one with a Discord and a Telegram, and sort of saying, to some people, hey, I'm starting this new place. I didn't mention any kind of like this is a replacement, because I didn't want to be like that. That's not what it is. It's kind of more like a branch. And we got the old admins in, so they were familiar faces, and really I wanted to just keep the sense that there was in the old community, but make those little changes of if my personal reasons get in the way of anyone else being in my group, then it's my personal reasons alone. It is not for me to remove people from my group. It is for me to remove myself. And so that was a rule going in for me, so that the same thing wouldn't happen again. And the other thing was there was this issue with that group where anytime people went slightly off topic, they were immediately steered back on topic, and that's a change that I wanted to make. So I made that change for my group, but everything else stayed the same at the start, to keep that familiarity.
Yeah. For me, like with how the Best Boy community that I run now, back when the original community had been shut down, there were about between 5 to 20 different Discord servers operating, claiming to be the successor to the original Best Boy community. And there was a lot of bad blood between those different servers, where people would basically be like at each other's necks over what to do with how the community would be run from the future. And that kind of like trying to get through that very rough early period, I feel helped shape our community into stronger. Oh my god, I'm sorry. But
bless you.
Yeah, basically led to us being able to like manage things better. Because we had to deal with like, oh, we're the better ones. Oh, we're doing a better job. And seeing how those other communities fell down and didn't work, we can incorporate the lessons that they learned into our lessons, basically allowing us to like, okay, what did you do wrong here that we can learn from? That sort of thing. And that's kind of one of the reasons why we are pretty much the Best Boy community now, and that's how we're able to continue operating up until today.
Yes.
Draken.
Do you want to get the question from? Oh, did?
I was gonna say, Draken, do you have a question? Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
So,
if anything else to add to that conversation.
Hang on.
So regarding the communities that you all are a part of, have there been situations where like some trends would start that you had to either adjust or found that you actually wanted to embrace?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I guess like for me, some people on the something where like we had to like, okay, this is kind of not something we're gonna want to continue happening. Or there'd be some kind of things going on where the community would do certain actions that were like in the chats were kind of like just like either annoying people or leading to conflict. And we're like, okay, we need to hold this back a bit and like talk to people involved and that sort of thing. But I guess like a more positive trend I've seen is like people like helping each other in like kind of embracing people helping each other make the models in our Discord server by like providing them a channel to go help each other in, basically, and all that kind of thing.
It's always silly stuff for Chibas. There was a time where everyone was changing their icon to look like my icon, but it was like their character drawn in the style of like the face up there, and so everyone was changing all of their icons to match my icon, and I thought that was funny. So I made a new hidden role called Ermagerd, and if you had the Ermagerd role, you suddenly had like slightly more permissions. But I didn't tell anybody about that. So yeah, those are. It's always fun, silly stuff that we it ends up exploding. And then of course you get the people who are like, "What's going on? This is stupid," and everyone else is like, "No, it's the greatest ever!" Woo!
They did it on Best Boy for April Fool's Day. I want you to try and change their name to my name and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, we did slightly different. We changed the server icon to show notification constantly. Everyone thought there was a notification going off.
Pretty much our era was facing. Our era was so early we were like in quotes facing the Knuckles, but it was something that we didn't really get too up in arms about because they would come and they would go. But we had members of our group or people that originally were Knuckles and were like, "Oh, actually, these people have free models. That's really cool. Could I join your Discord?" So different trends also are when we also established the group. The original founder is a very eccentric individual, and we have specific roles for someone that eats ketchup cookies, and it's wonderful.
No, those things.
But the key is when you're doing a community and you have something that someone does that might become more popular or more people emulate, then yes, if it's a positive thing and if you think it's going to be like really cool, then maybe you can even go get together with people that do a lot of Blender edits, and you can make that like an official thing. So what happened was we originally had people that kept doing their own edits, and we said, "Oh, is it possible if you'd like us to list those in the pedestals in the map, or would you also like us to host it in our own file sharing section of our Discord?" So it's like the community edits. So when it comes down to trends and things, go with them most cases. Like they stimulate more community involvement.
Yeah, we had a couple of people come in and would flood the chat, talking about car stuff and computer stuff and just going back and forth with the big gearheads. And we're like, all right, we're just gonna make you guys your own channel so you can discuss it in there. And you just go with whatever your community's going with, and you adapt for it. That's the best way you can handle it. If it's all like positive stuff, because that's the best way. I like the trend stuff. Those are fun.
Yeah. Another thing when it comes to like that kind of thing, like it kind of just goes off a little bit, but like when you have like channels that you don't really use anymore, archive them. Like don't just delete channels out of nowhere. Archive your old stuff. So that way people who are, "Oh, I missed this kind of thing, I want to go view it again," can go and do that. But let's go. Is there any other questions from the audience, or should I take one from the Discord?
I got one from the audience.
Oh, what's up, Red Clay Rob?
I don't know if this is one that has already been answered, but if you were to give one advice to a future creator about when creating a community for VRChat or wherever, what would you give?
That's basically what the whole panel's about, isn't it?
Yeah, but my advice to a future creator is don't be a future creator, be a creator. Make it now. Like don't be a thing later, because
do it now.
You're gonna, if you want to be the good thing later, you gotta be the bad thing first. You gotta start making it now. Make it your thing, because if it's not your thing, then then it isn't your thing, is it? You got to find something else to do. There's no in the future for art, really. Unless your art specifically requires a bulldozer that you have to buy, and then okay, maybe you can't afford the bulldozer. You got to wait until you can rent a bulldozer. I don't know what your art's going to be like, but okay. Some things do require a wait, but make as soon as you can.
I mean, if your art is time lapse, I mean that is the future thing.
You gotta start recording the time lapse somewhere.
When it comes to like starting off, like I said, just start. Don't be afraid to like start doing something, even if you don't think it's good. And nobody starts off like creating perfect things. I mean, I'm sure we've all had our own like nightmare first creations of things we've tried to do that never worked out. But if you don't start working on something, you'll never start. So what better time than the present to start working on something and creating your own creations.
Yeah, like with art, there's a difference between the art and the craft. You can play guitar, but that doesn't mean you can improv and just play cool stuff right off the bat. Knowing the technicalities of something is different to the actual art of using it. And I see that with 3D modeling all the time. People think Blender is 3D modeling, but 3D modeling is a skill. Blender is just the tool.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Let's see here. Like I said, if you everyone ask questions in the Discord if you're watching the stream, so we can see them, and sure, give us stuff to work with so we can get some more questions as well. But does anyone else have anything here from the room?
Audience.
How long
Audience,
is this panel?
I think we have like another half hour about.
Snowy VR, I believe, has a question.
My bot's
what's up?
on sleep.
What's up? The question? I don't know if I can hear you if you're trying to talk.
I don't have a question.
Oh,
okay.
Ooh, okay, never mind. Let's see here.
Burnite?
This is a nice one. Do any of you want to do a
Rusty.
collaboration together? What's up? Oh, huh?
We had one in the audience before you
Oh.
was reading.
Oh, where? Who?
It's from Bernard.
Hey.
Bernard, what's up?
Hello.
No, I was gonna say what's like the most like wholesome stories you think that have come out of your community that have really had a positive impact on you, for instance?
Yeah, that's a good one. I guess we could start with Hawaiian and work our way down.
Oh, okay. Like wholesome as a whole is much like it was mentioned before. There's a lot of people that, when they join your community, especially if it starts small, they'll be developing more social skills and they'll meet all kinds of people. And some of those people they end up in relations with. And some of those people they get married to. And that legit has happened within the Hyena group. And
It's happened in Best Boy too, yeah.
Yeah,
it's happened in
very
Chivas.
interesting. And another interesting good note is we have a lot of creative people that do cosplay and can do plush making and do like traditional art, all kinds of handmade stuff. And so, as a commemorative thing to different people that assisted a lot with the community, various people ended up getting plushes done of their different little hyena characters. And so, in my China cabinet, I have one. And then for my support of the initial Best Boy group, I even have one of their group funded plushes.
I have one too.
So I sent it to Rusty or to Vivian.
Yes.
It's very good that I sent it them.
Yes, I was really
as a
happy
whole,
when you did that.
it's amazing the relations that you get to see, and at heart, it's not you the one that's can take all the credit. It's just you had that open platform, and that your community actually was good, positive, and good.
I'd say mine was pretty similar. I always get like a wholesome message from one of the members saying how they've met like their closest ever friends now, who pretty much before they joined the server they didn't know them, started hanging around at the meetups. They've become like the closest of friends. It's just been really nice to see.
I already talked about one of the bigger. Sorry.
Nothing.
Oh, okay. I already talked about the one with the movie, but I guess another one is seeing how people who join your community grow and develop over time in the years they're in your community. Like, we have a member who joined the community. She's a transgender. She started off the community very, very shy, having a lot of issues, and just seeing how she's been able to open up and become really her true self in the community and like grow with us is something I've always felt really heartwarmed about.
Yeah, just people. A lot of people they join your community who are just in a terrible place in life or don't feel any purpose. They're having a rough time, and your community can serve as just a place where they can chill and not have to worry about anything for a while, meet friends, have a good time while they kind of try to bring themselves back together or figure out the next stage of their life. And hearing stories from people who've joined even our little community, and been like, hey, just being here, creating stuff, learning all of these things, and chatting with people doing the same stuff, it really helped them get through points in their life where they didn't really know anyone, or they'd left their old friend group, or they had some very big change looming over their head and didn't know how to deal with themselves while waiting for it. And so being able to provide that and hearing those stories is very nice. And also, I do YouTube work, and I make videos often about spaceflight. And I've heard people in my YouTube comments telling me things like, you inspired me to pursue astrophysics or aerospace engineering at university. I'm like, whoa. So,
honestly, when I first saw those videos when I was like really little, when I first saw them, I thought you were actually in space for a good year before I looked at them again.
I got messages from little kids telling me and stuff like, "Oh my God, there's a furry who's an actual astronaut." I'm so inspired. Like, how am I going to break it to them that it's a green screen? I had to really bring out my speech 100 in order to make that reply not sound awful.
It didn't help that I thought me too.
Yeah, it's amazing stuff.
Yeah, man. Remember the emotional roller coaster I was talking about? The wholesome stuff is like the tippity toppity part where you walk into even at FC, walk into a room and everyone is there, and in that room two of those people are getting married and other people are there, and they're all there because of something you did, because you made I made this dog avatar on VRChat, and now all these people are best friends. That's such a wash of positive emotion. You just can't help but just to cry. It's kind of one of those moments. You're like, oh my God, the feelings, and then it just that's yeah. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, you experience extreme highs and extreme lows by being community leader.
They actually did science on what makes people happy. Recently, there was a big bit of research about that, and they found that the people who are the most happy are the people who make others happy. That even money can buy happiness if you buy it for someone else. And so I put that in. That's a big part of who I try to be now. Is you can be happy if you do things for other people.
Hey, Hayu, can you make me really happy?
No.
Yeah, I do got another, I think, pretty good question if everyone's ready to move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than FurHub, what are other popular furry hubs that are available on VRChat? I guess it's kind of something I've been wanting to talk about for quite a while now, because I'm actually working on a project relating to that. And I've talked with Hayu, and I'm not sure about Nicoretta and Whitman about it. I'm not sure if I've shown it to Petey yet, but it's basically a project I'm calling Fur Station, which is basically going to be a similar kind of deal to FurHub, where it's you can go and view people's avatars, their creations and stuff. Kind of like Furality Dealer's Den, but 24/7, and a fully optimized map. Because when you go to FurHub and you try to set up a booth as a creator, it's kind of oh my god, where do I go? What do I do? My kind of goal is to create something from as a creator to kind of like help other creators get their content out there. And that's something that's still in very, very early development, and you'll probably hear more about it within the upcoming months as I continue to develop that kind of concept more. But there are a lot of other options too besides just FurHub to go to. Like there's like your regular avatar, furry avatar worlds, or like your community avatar worlds, like we all have as our own worlds, that kind of thing. There's a lot of other places you can go.
There's also an alternative one to FurHub called Fur Lounge.
Yes, which is more optimized.
One trend I'm seeing, it used to be at the very beginning of, like, you know, when I joined VRChat, a lot of world makers would put up worlds and connect their friends' worlds via portals in the worlds, and now that's not happening quite a bit.
That's something I'd like to see come back. That was always a neat kind of thing to do.
I want to see that come back.
Hey, I mean, everyone like link our worlds together.
People often go to Virtual Ferns, which is a world I helped build. It's not. There are some avatars in there. There's like a secret room behind the ATM, but generally the people just go there to meet other furries. A lot of non-furries actually even go there in the public instances just to meet furries and to find out what it's all about.
And we just go there to fly.
Oh yeah, the Avani fly.
We're grateful for the Estro Hotel.
Yeah, it's a very
I
good
can still
map.
flex on them, and as admin, I can just float.
What's up, JJ? Sorry, I'm like muted.
Yeah. Kind of another question. I wasn't sure if it was asked before, but my question is, what are some things that you do in your community to keep everyone engaged?
I guess like for me, doing events is always a big thing. We do on Best Boy weekly meetups where we all just go together, and you have to select a role to get notified for them, that sort of thing. And then we do monthly meetings where we ping the server, we have everyone come in, and I basically give like a short announcement speech about what we're doing as a community to like keep people excited for the future and keep people engaged. As well as letting moderation, and not even moderators, like people who are active in the community, run their own events and giving them access to ping those roles for when they're doing events and stuff. When you trust people like that to do that is always kind of something I found really useful for Best Boy.
I'd say we got similar. We got the meetups, game nights, and also the occasional movie night. So know that the time slots for the meetups always vary for those who it's either too early in the morning or not early enough.
Yeah, time zone management is another nightmare as community leaders that we have to deal with.
So, we have events like all the time. A lot of us put on live stage shows in a theater world. I'm also really big in exercise, so there's a whole squat group that we just go to the squat gym and we squat, just exercise until we're falling over. A lot of stuff like that. And then there's we do like meetups where if someone made a world, you know, like a Shiba themed world, we're all gonna go check this one out. And so to help it out of community labs, because that is a perpetual hole that worlds can get stuck in.
Yeah. I mean, if your world doesn't get out of like community lab within the first like 2-ish weeks, you're gonna have to like really get in there to invest people into it.
Yeah. But yeah, we do quite a bit actually, and a lot of it is stuff I haven't really set up. I mean, I set up the squat roles, but a lot of it is like self-run by the community. Someone says, "Hey, I have an event going on. Can I post to the events group?" And then invite a whole bunch of people. I'm like, "Yeah, go ahead. Sounds fun." I can't make it, but you do you. And so
that's something I've started to do too with Best Boy when it comes to like keeping everything together. Is like before I would just kind of run all of the events, which I know you've kind of used to do too, PD, where you just like run all of the events and try to keep the server as like a one-man control thing. But that doesn't work when you get bigger and bigger because you will burn out and have that kind of like breakdown.
I used to do at the very beginning, we'd have, Friday night party nights or whatever. I would post the world where we all can join in and just have a whole bunch of fun. But as the community got larger and larger, the world link I would post, everyone would join in and then crash, or it just became too big, and people would get upset that they couldn't make it. So a lot of self-run events actually help the community as a whole. Because eventually it gets too big that no one, like, if you have a premiere of a film that you're going to show off, everyone wants to be in the premiere instance, but then, a max of 80. If the world is set to max of 40, you can get 80 people in there. If you have 120 people that want to join, they're going to, there's going to be quite a few angry people that they couldn't make it. So eventually,
that's why it's also good to do like stream events as well. So people who can't make it or aren't able to get in the prime instance can also view them anyways.
Yeah. We got a question in the bag.
Oh, what's up?
Hang on. Technical difficulties. Unmute.
You might have to come up here if you're gonna talk.
Yeah, maybe better if you to come up here to talk so that everyone on the stream can hear you and all that good stuff.
Technical issue.
Oh, I mean, we're in the same Discord call. I can answer for them if that's all right. Can you hear me back here?
If you could come up, that'd be a bit better, I think.
Alright, let me move on a little bit closer. Alright, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, so, question from the friend is, how do you deal with the anxiety of being the face of the community?
Yeah, that's a good one. I guess we could start down the list of everyone.
Hello.
What you listening?
So it's a lot to be the in quotes figurehead or like the main visual of a community. There's a lot of people that will not exactly know who you are. They might, for example, if they've seen videos of things, then they might build up, kind of like put you on a pedestal. So there is, when it comes down to it, a lot of people, they really aren't set on big groups, and they're not set on this big thing about popularity. So yes, there is anxiety actually being the main person that is responsible for good and for bad. When it comes down to it, though, I'd say most of the contributions that I personally did were positive, and any little edits or any other like smaller things that someone else did cannot be directly tied to me or my group. So that weight is off of me. When it comes down to people wanting to constantly talk to you or approach you, I myself do a lot of things real life. I'm my own I'm chair of my own community association, so I'm kind of already set to do a lot of public stuff. So I manage it a little differently than other people. So I'm not exactly the best on giving advice on how to manage the anxiety or to take it in stride.
I kind of just take it as it goes. Once someone comes speak to me, the anxiety is just good as gone. I'm back to normal state, really.
I guess one thing as a community leader that like you kind of like don't see talked about, I think, enough is that you are under constant view as a community leader. Like all your actions that you do that people can see will be seen, and people will scrutinize you. It's a kind of a goofy comparison, but it's kind of like being a politician in that sense, where like your actions, as even if you're just like being by yourself with your friends, you are yourself, but you're also community leader of your group. So you have to take that into account with your actions publicly. Like you can't just have like super raunchy porn the first thing that comes up with your name as like a community leader, unless like that's what your community is all about, which I mean, I don't know, that's you, but you gotta kind of like manage that kind of your public image in that sense, where it's like you as a community leader reflect your community, and you want that reflection to be a positive one. And that could lead to a whole lot of stress because, like, oh God, what if X person's lying and spreading horrible rumors about you? Or, oh God, I messed up and somebody saw something they shouldn't have. Oh God, that sort of thing. That can lead to so much stress But you got to also take it as like, okay, people know the truth, people don't know the truth. People who know the truth and who know you will be able to hear the right things and hear the truth from you. When it comes to like people spreading rumors and lies about you, which happens to community leaders, you know, and people will be able to say things about you behind your back.
I have trouble with anxiety too, so I can't really answer that.
I mean, transcending autism, as I like to say, for me, it was all about feeling like I really need to think before I speak. And watching some videos about how to do like social media or to do public speaking training kind of helped me with that as a life thing. So really, to me, I think the difference between public speaking and regular speaking may be a little less for me than for most people. But I think I'd like to talk about a thing called spotlight syndrome. The idea that if you make a mistake, you think that it's the end of the world. You know, you think everyone is thinking about that mistake you made. But trust me, an hour after they read it, they've completely forgotten. Maybe
That's something
minutes
I've
after
needed to
they've read it,
learn.
they've completely forgotten. Yeah, like,
Definitely.
there's people who know you, there's people who don't. The people who do know you, they know you. And so, if you mess up, I mean, it's going to happen. And when it does, it's not a big deal. Unless you're a really bigoted, horrible person. Just don't be that and you'll be fine. And yeah, and if someone catches you saying something dumb in that kind of regard, you learn. You realize it's dumb. You don't say it again. You publicly say, "Hey, I'm sorry." I understand that the difference between what you mean and what you actually say, they're two completely different things. And if you say something damaging, you mention that and you say, "I'm sorry that I said something damaging." It's amazing how many people just don't say that. They don't just admit, like, "Oh, I did something I didn't realize was bad. I'm sorry." They don't say that.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to what you were saying a little bit ago when it comes to like just kind of being like acknowledging that when you make a mistake is really important as a community leader.
Yep. Yeah. And because then you've made a mistake, it is a mistake, and you won't make it again, and then your community, won't have to go through whatever it was again.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That all said, I agree with all that. I also do a lot of exercise. So if I'm gonna do like sparring and boxing, and I'm still like wrapped up in anxiety about something I had, I get punched in the face. So I have to leave that all behind if I step in the ring. That's how I handle it. So yeah, exercise, and then you can just like focus on your training or whatnot, and then you just have to leave all that on the table.
And there's more science there. Exercise is a very good way of relieving stress.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I've got more to add there. When you're a public figure, or even if you're staff for a convention or for anything, really where there is a public presence, what you say in the public sphere actually represents the name that you go under. I've worked social media at a FurCon last year, one of the few to actually go ahead early in the year, and there was a massive social media incident involving an attendee who didn't really do anything bad, but they violated a rule slightly, so they were told to change what they were wearing. And but then this got blown out of proportion online. People were saying, "Oh, she got kicked out of the con," which no one said that. And then someone else was saying, "Oh, she was wearing something horrible." And it's like, well, no, none of these things are true. And you have to try and find the truth and piece it together. But often the public will never be happy with it. One
one mistake with that as well, like let's say that it's blown up drama on Twitter or whatever, if the actual like proper channel, let's say the convention is trying to clear the air for the drama, they've just alerted everyone who doesn't know about the drama to the drama.
Exactly.
That's
so
another thing
sometimes
you
need to say
navigate.
nothing, even if what's going on is bad. You could make it worse. We had members of our convention speaking out with the wrong information, private information that we later found out was incorrect. In the replies to the Twitter drama, and that made it worse. That made the attendee receive hate mail and stuff, which wasn't justified at all. And so like, Yeah, that person no longer is at the convention because you don't do that. You don't do that.
Yeah. Something like another
you wait
thing
for
I think
the-
it's important to mention is that like you cannot please everyone. There's always gonna be people that you cannot please that will always like be hateful against you or just like be really grumpy to not want to be around you. That's just kind of how it is with running communities. Like you're a public person, and people are going to either like that or not like that, and you can't always please everyone.
Yep. But yeah,
Yeah.
not saying stuff and knowing what to say to not cause a huge more debacle. That is a skill set that is normally learned through mistakes. Mm-hmm.
I agree.
All right. Oh, I think we got another one.
Yeah.
What's up?
Should I come closer? Can you guys hear me all right?
A little bit closer.
Is good?
Yep.
Yeah.
So the question I have is kind of like, there's been a lot of talk of social anxiety for community leaders and community members, but something it's something I've personally dealt with, and I'm curious to hear people's advice for, folks who are kind of on the fringe of the furry community, but nervous about actually joining, any part of it, be that the community as a whole or a subset like Best Boys or the Avali Army. What advice would you give to people who are hesitant about delving into a big social group like that?
I'd say I guess give it a try. That sort of thing.
Yeah,
It may not be for you, but that's how it is. You won't know until you try something, And
a general rule: life is short. You only got so many decisions you can make in your life. Don't take it too seriously. If you jump in, if you mess up, again with the spotlight situation, if you mess up, if you say something and there's an awkward silence, well, they don't really know who you are, do they? It's not like they're going to remember that 10 years later and be like, oh, you're the one person who made that awkward silence that one time. I don't want to speak to you. No, it's not going to be like that. If you make a mistake, they'll have forgotten by the next day. I mean, if you do it every day, then, it'll be a big
I think you're calling me out there, Hayu.
The joke in the Shiva's community is that Shiva's not a furry model, so therefore we're not a furry community because, I'm clearly not a furry. Not.
I heard there was a trial or something. That there's a legal.
I mean, there was kind of a trial. Hey, what's standing on that is that the judge wasn't legitimate. It wasn't like law-appointed judge, Huh?
Okay.
Yeah. Still.
Why am I calling you out? Why are you?
I do that a lot. I get worried about when it comes to getting the spotlight syndrome kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's about taking it. Not taking it so seriously. Just trying more things. The furry community is very welcoming. I think one of the phrases I've heard recently is "I am cringe, but I am free."
Oh my god!
And so
just vomit in the corner here. Okay.
Flip it. Okay, so
you're gonna have to clean that up later, PD.
Whatever goes down in the community, I promise me that I've seen much worse.
That's true.
Joining any of the communities you see here is surely a safe bet.
Yeah.
And you'll listen to people, and if you listen to people, you can take on a lot of their wisdom. And the more you learn, the less is unknown to you about how to socialize and how to interact with people. And the less is unknown, the less you fear.
Yeah. I see some people in stream chat asking, and at the end of the panel, we will be putting our links into both the Twitch chat and into the Discord channel for everyone to be able to find our communities and be able to join us in future endeavors. So that will be available there for everyone to join in and all that good stuff. Oh my, I'm sorry, but that will be
Yes,
all
bless
in
you.
there. Thank you. That will be all be in there for everyone to be able to find everything to join. I guess we got another question from the Discord chat here. Is there a period that you consider to be the height or golden age of your community? I guess for me, the answer is that like haven't reached that yet. I hope we keep growing and keep seeing what is next. But I guess anyone else have anything to say?
No, I'd say mine's pretty much the same. We haven't reached that point.
Yeah, same.
I don't think you never really know when you reach that point.
When you're in a situation where you look back and you think, "Oh, those were the good old days," you messed up.
Yeah.
like, there's always something to do.
I remember being a space chicken.
The best days are ahead of us.
There's always going to be a new day. There's always going to be new adventures to be had, I suppose.
New
think
dank
the
memes
Shivas
to
are a
be
little bit
posted.
more. I'd like to think Shivas are a little bit more structured now. So it is a really good time for Shibas. But I mean, when we were just a ball of chaos and just like a frat club each Friday night, that was kind of fun. But that was not healthy in the least bit. We're a lot more healthy group now.
The morning after can't have been that fun.
Oh no, the morning afters were never fun. But what happened though is that the Shiba King series came out, and a lot of people they were seeing expressive avatars from VRChat for the first time, whatever, and they came in thinking that every night was like that. You know, it was all about just partying and drinking and all that stuff, and that's when it just it went. You know, you got that artificial growth. The hype monster came in, and so that was chaos. It was not fun chaos.
Yeah.
But I like to say that
I think that
Shibas
really,
right now are in
attests- I think it really
Yeah.
attests to what Hayu was talking about earlier.
Mhm. Yeah, but I have cool things planned and for the future. Eventually, I'll make a 3.0 Shiba. Eventually. Eventually.
I mean, you got all the time in the world.
Those contractor dogs got to finish the pet shop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're just working.
Yeah, I think we've all got a lot of
Union
interesting
going-
stuff planned for everyone. Everyone here, I think, has got something really awesome planned.
Oh yes.
Knowing all of you wonderful and creative people on here with all of us today. And I always love seeing what other people do with their communities. It's always something I found really interesting is just seeing what other people do with their work. And I'm like, oh, I love that idea. I want to do something like that now. And that kind of group inspiration from each other to build off each other, I think is really fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this isn't really about a question, but I feel like this is something good to bring up too. Is recently I basically had to leave my community Discord for about 2 weeks to deal with some personal stuff some IRL personal stuff. And I think it's really important to have staff members that you trust to help you. With Zex here, who, oh my god, the dogs are barking, I'm so sorry. But basically with Zex here, who is my head of staff, basically he was able to take over for those 2 weeks that I was gone and basically help manage everything, keep the ship still steered in the right direction, so to say. So having a staff member that you trust is very important for when there's an emergency or some kind of crisis where you are needed to take a break.
Yeah.
Oh,
in
yeah.
my community, there's
there's
a second person who has full rights to the whole communities in case anything were to happen to me or I have to go somewhere else.
Yeah. It's always good to have that backup plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's always there's sometimes I come busy day, come back and staff has already dealt with something that had been going on in the chat. Already dealt with it, cleared out. I'm reading through staff chat. I'm just like, I love you guys. You guys are amazing.
Yeah. It happens on Best Boy a lot too.
If you are in charge of a huge community and you have to do anything besides, being part of big decisions and announcements and stuff, then you haven't organized your mods correctly, I think.
Yes. Another thing is don't let your mods just become sitting there in that position doing nothing. Your staff should be active. That's something I've kind of noticed too. Is you need to have active staff members. At least the majority of your staff needs to be in the chats, talking to people or moderating things when they need to be moderated. Yeah. What's up? Sure.
My entire staff is here.
So you guys talked earlier about like raising or making events and whatnot. How much, what do you call that, inter-talking you guys have between your events to make sure your guys don't clash with each other, so somebody who's in like the volleys can go to a Best Boy meet on the same weekend?
I guess it's kind of like more like, at least something I do is I'll check other people's communities when they're holding events. I mean, we hold ours on Friday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern time, which I found is a pretty solid time. I know how you do yours on, I think, Saturdays.
Yeah, I mean,
it
is difficult to
the rest of
to move your events around because you do need to find a time period that satisfies a whole bunch of time zones, and often there's only one, and everyone's chosen the same one. So spaghettis, kangas, deers, leggies, those Avatar communities, they all had their meetup on the same date and same time every week as the Long Boys, and so we pretty much just merged the meetups. I'll post the Long Boy meetup link in advance, and then he'll just copy that over, and we'll all go to the same place.
Yeah.
Yes.
Something that like I found something I really wanted to do with all of y'all at some point is just to giant meet up with all of our groups together. I feel that'd be a fun thing to do sometime.
That'd be.
I mean, with how many days ours is? How many days
that would
we
be
do
a
ours?
lot of people, though. That would be so many people.
Isn't that basically just like Furality?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
It's about the same number, yeah.
I mean, I think we're almost out of time here. I think we're supposed to end at
What's next? I mean,
like a couple minutes now.
Yeah, it's almost.
I guess like there's the stream. You know, you guys, anyone wants to say any final things before we head off these last couple minutes to just be wrapping everything up? Then yeah, I guess well, this is actually a good question to kind of end off as our kind of last question. What would you say is the best thing that being part of the furry community has done for you? I guess it's part of our communities as well. I guess we could go down, and wrap things up.
Okay. Hello. So I'd say probably overall being able to actually be more public in my association with the fandom is I can somewhat be more expressive and show more people the different little edits and the different types of little doodles and drawings that I do. I am by no means like comparative to other artists, but I still love to do my little drawings, and the people at work love them too. Being part of the fandom is nice because I can, and also through the community is I can be more open and socialize using my different models and being tied in with different communities. And there are a lot of long-standing friendships that have only gotten stronger through the community and playing this game. So I'm very grateful for many of the fond shared memories in this game and with the fandom.
I would have said the exact same, really. The friends I know from many years ago to now, I go to the conventions with, even in real life, it's all really thanks to the fandom itself. I can be who I want to be now, without having to, keep it to myself.
Yeah, it's kind of similar for me. I've really been able to I've met all of my friends and my future roommates who are moving into in a couple months through this game and through the community, and that's something I've always been just amazed by, like how much my life has changed for the better by being around so many of you people here and in the community. It's just been wonderful.
Yeah, that's the same here. I got so many friends from that, and I really appreciate what happened in the recent years. I'm just happy. It's cool.
Yeah.
I've been in the furry fandom for about 12 years now, and just at this point, everyone I know is a furry. Even in real life, all the people I know are furries. I haven't been able to meet them for a year, but The only time I ever get called by my legal name now is when I go to the doctor. So it's just like a really amazing place for the very creative and very like intense people, like people who put their all into stuff, people who don't just become drones like everyone else, people who are like, no, I want to live life the way I want to live it and not the way someone tells me to. And there are very few communities like that. I mean, the closest I found is Airsoft. It's the only other community that I really know of that isn't centered around any particular brand or company. And I mean, yeah, it's just really, really cool.
Yeah, I can't even talk to normies anymore. Like, I don't even... Like, I try and talk to, like, people who are non-furries or artists, and I'm like, hey, what do we talk about?
Oh,
So,
the weather.
Yeah. Weather. Oh, sport. Yeah.
How many ball throws did you catch at the game?
Yeah, I can't. I'm going to a family reunion pretty soon here, like the end of July, and I'm just like, oh my god, I'm gonna be so bored. I'm gonna be talking about stuff, and it's gonna go right over their heads, and they give you that nod. They're like, wow, that's really good. What's he talking about?
Yeah, and just the people you meet in this community. Like, I've met
yeah.
multiple like nuclear submarine operators in like a short span of time. I know tank drivers. There's one astronaut I actually know of. The person who designed like the wheels of the Perseverance rover. Like people from like the space industry on the shuttle way back, and there's just so many really cool.
Meet the most interesting people in this community because I have no idea why. Like
It's insane.
Like it's the eccentric people that are just like, yay, I'm really smart, got this job, but I also want to put on this like, dog costume and run around at a con and scare normies for a weekend.
Yeah, like now if I see some dubious article on like electrical grid management or something, it's like, well, I know someone who does that. The kind of networking, just the kinds of interesting, specialized people that you meet that aren't the normal people, the people who do the weird things.
I just roast coffee.
That's good. We need that.
It's delicious. The stuff you sent me is so good. Hawaiian. I still have some.
So, closing remarks, or?
I think we're pretty much out of time, unless the stream guys want to tell us to end off here. I guess we can also like wave goodbye while they turn off the stream.
I could end it with my Chug Jug song.
Oh no.
No.
Community leader.
Wait till the stream's over.